I'd like to now give you a very quick overview of the topics relating to competency models for legal project management that I've been involved in developing. And this draws on work from a number of different dimensions, and all of it is laid out in my chapter in the book. And what I have in the book was current as of, obviously, October when it went to press. So let me get my slide going here. So this is pretty much going to be a bunch of pictures and visuals. When you think about what it takes to be effective, it's a combination of concrete knowledge, skills, and attitude. And, if you think of this Venn diagram, it presents it as if attitude, knowledge, and skills all are there in equal forms. We know that for ourselves, we can have an enormous amount of knowledge, poor skills, and a great attitude, or any other combination along the way. But in building a competency model, I looked at different resources, both from the project management world, from outcome-based education, outside of legal, outside of project management. And I tried to identify where the commonalities were and where there are ideas that could be brought to bear for what we're trying to accomplish in not just improving the value and quality of legal services, but also the individual effectiveness and competency of all of us on this call and all the individuals who are project managers or contributing to the execution of projects, legal matters, fill in the blank. So from there, I said, okay, here are a bunch of good words to use as a start: attitude, knowledge, skills. What does it take to build it out? So I said, okay, we're talking about legal project managers, which are derived from project managers, and at least half the people on this call have PMPs. So let me go back and take a look at the project manager competency model within PMI. And so I did a fairly comprehensive search, discovered that nothing has been updated since about 2007. In fact, a great deal of the material gets revised, but at its core, it goes back to this slide that I pulled out of a presentation that was done in the Ukraine by a guy from the UK. So I don't have the attribution on there, but just to let you know, this is something that puts it together very well. And basically, it goes through it the same way. I think the Venn diagram would be that, how does the organization work and what's the knowledge for the context in which you are going to have a project sponsor? How is that contextualized by the industry or the domain you're in, as well as the function or the role you have within that industry? So translate. I am a lawyer in a law firm. Lawyer is the function. Law firm is also the function. It's the legal domain. The organization is the law firm. And then I have the knowledge of the things I do as a lawyer. Okay, so is this helping now? So what we've got is bottom left-hand corner, industry, domain, functional competency. We're lawyer in the legal industry, organization, practices, and knowledge in a law firm, substantive practice of law. Translate for a legal operations professional. They're in the legal operation. Their job is legal ops, and the organization is the legal function in a corporate law department, and they have the knowledge associated with getting things done there. And then in between, you can envision the legal project manager in the law firm and where they fit according to those categories. So PMI already presents through its competency model the architecture for what a legal project management competency model could be. Then you look at the other three dimensions and you basically say project management knowledge. Those are the different knowledge areas in the PMBOK. Personal competency, then you're looking at personal skills. It's one thing to say you have to have knowledge of communication as part of the PMBOK knowledge areas, but how well does a person communicate? Do they understand their personality type? Do they understand the limitations of their disposition in the way in which that's helpful or impedes communication? Do they understand the audience to whom they are making their presentation? You know, where understanding personality and social styles is very important. And then personal competency also goes to something that is very much in the universe of what David and Karen do, which is having the disposition for continuous improvement. That it's not just a matter of knowing yourself, but having curiosity, having the desire to adapt, change. Those are all personal characteristics. They're not concrete project knowledge characteristics. And then the last component in this, the performance competency, is the idea that you can have all of these things, but the model requires you to say, I have these things and I'm assessing it against a standard. So I have it, and am I a novice? Am I, middle of the road competent? Am I an expert? So, from a simplicity point of view, you're either, you're at 0, in which case you're not even on the spectrum. You're a novice, you've got a general level of competency, and then you're an expert, maybe you're capable of teaching it. So the competency assessment can be on whatever scale one chooses to do it. I've seen competency models that go from 1 to 10. I've seen competency models that go A, B, C. But that's an attribute of how we build the model. So these are all of the elements in the PMI framework. And I thought to myself, great, I've got an enormous amount to work with. Let me see if there's anything that's been done regarding lawyer competency models, so that then I'm tapping into the industry, the domain, and the functional competency at the bottom left-hand corner, which brings us to the next slide. Many of you have heard about the concept of the T-shaped lawyer, where the column of the T is about substantive knowledge, and so that would be the vertical, and the horizontal component in the T-shaped model brings in a number of different attributes. And as that was developed, project management was considered one of them. Financial acumen, business acumen was considered one of them. And there's a lot of work that's been done on the T-shaped model. More recently, a group has formulated what they're calling the Delta model for lawyers. And as you can see, 20th century lawyer. And it draws on all the elements that you just saw in the PMI model, focusing on knowledge of the law, subject matter expertise, defining what those components are, personal effectiveness, and knowledge of business and operations. And so the folks working on the Delta model pushed it out there, demonstrated how it was a more, in my mind, holistic view than the T-shaped model, because it emphasizes not an either or, but an interactivity among the elements. From there, they went into the next iteration. So now we're moving from the lawyers who may have project management skills into legal professionals. And the legal professional here is, we've now taken those 3 elements again, and it amplifies them with broader definitions of the categories. Because as you can see, the practice here is not uh, presented in terms of legal writing or research. It presents it in a much broader way and does the same thing by subdividing across this to say, this isn't just relevant for the modern lawyer, it's for anybody who is a professional in the legal ecosystem, in the legal industry. And so by looking at it this way, it says, we're breaking down the guild, if you will, of what lawyers do as only a lawyer thing, and saying lawyers and allied professionals, which include, project managers, data analysts, KM people, finance people, fill in the blanks, and apologize to anybody whose job I've left out, but I think you are clearly a professional in the legal industry and encompassed by this. So how do you adapt that? Next slide shows you the adaptation to the legal solutions architect. Now take a look, exact same dimensions, but it has a movable center point and basically says that if your predominant competency is in business operations, like the job that people in legal ops roles have, then you've got all three of these elements, but you only need a foundational knowledge of the law, but you want to emphasize your skill set around your business and operations. And obviously, personal effectiveness is critical. At some level, this demonstrates that your personal effectiveness weighting is more important than your knowledge of the law. Not to discount your need to know the knowledge of law, that's contextual, but it manipulates it according to those variables. So that's how I started building my article and my framework for thinking about how do we have, my title was Advancing the Legal Value Paradigm. So I said, okay, paradigm is a way of doing things. Legal and value are about effective client service delivery and solving clients' problems, addressing their opportunities and challenges, infusing it with legal expertise. And as you can hear, I emphasize the client has an issue, an opportunity, or a challenge. It's only the legal profession that says, oh, they've got a legal problem, they've got a legal issue. No, they've got a business opportunity or problem, they've got a personal opportunity or problem. Law is an input, a tool that enables them to accomplish their objectives. And as a consequence, in order to have effective project managers or people using project management skills, we need to find a way to build out a model that is not just this delta model moving target, but makes it very specific about what's involved. Which brings us to the last slide, which is that the last slide is Ignaz and I and David Roof, based in the US, who is one of the fathers of legal project management and law firms in the US, Todd Hutchison and Anthony Smith of the International Institute of Legal Project Management have been working on adapting everything that I just presented to you to build a competency model. And we've been at it pretty much since November. And this is what we have come up with so far. And what we're trying to do through this is basically build out the knowledge areas and treating the soft skills as a knowledge area that must be acquired rather than a standalone competency. Because what we're trying to emphasize is, and again, this is because we're trying to adapt it uniquely to the audience that we're dealing with, is that understanding project dynamics, which bring in the soft skills and bring in, what I was calling the attitude and the personality styles, are as critical as the other four elements. The other four elements are testable, easily communicated, although not necessarily easily adopted or mastered, areas of knowledge. But the whole area of soft skills has been given short shrift in our industry, and that's why we concluded that we would bake it into the knowledge areas. Whether this approach is the best approach, certainly not the only approach. I'm aware of at least 3 other LPM competency models being built out by other groups today. It remains to be seen, but this is a way in which I'm trying to build a model based on the what I'll call the raw materials coming out of that very first slide, which is to say, we've got to find a way to have an objective measure of competence based on the 3 components: skills, which are practical workplace, measurable, demonstratable; knowledge, which we can call training, or as they said in the old days, book learning; and attitude. And using all of that to promote competence so that we have people with the ability to advance what we're all trying to do through our participation in this community.